Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. We have a whole team of us here that want to encourage you to maybe identify a message inside of your heart that you want to share with the whole wide world, especially about how great the Lord is. Maybe some things of testimony or teaching that is inside your heart that you've always wanted to get out. So this is a session that we're going to share together on unlocking your book, because chances are you have one on the inside of you. And so I want to introduce our guest today, as we're all going to be having some input and share time, because we're getting ready to do a whole workshop for you to share about insights on how to get that book that's in you out. And so with we have Jeremiah Yancey, and Jeremiah is the lead on Brian's team for this workshop, Brian Simmons' team. Brian is the author of the Passion Translation, and Jeremiah works with him to raise up authors, to raise up messengers of the gospel. And then we also have David Sluka, who is an amazing publisher, editor, who is part of the teaching team and the mentoring team on this course, and Michelle Jackson, powerful minister of the gospel, pastor, apostolic leader, Jane Hammond, well-known and respected prophet, and Sherman Dumas, also a well-respected prophet and powerful voice in this day. So we're the ones who are going to be sharing with you on this particular session to bring encouragement to you, maybe some impartation, maybe some prophetic infusion to bring encouragement to you. But Jeremiah, why don't you take it from here and share some bones of this course?
Yeah, this is really exciting. I'm really, really overwhelmed, so blessed that we get to co-labor with each other and then co-labor to help those that are called in this particular season to unlock and to write and then eventually publish and market your book. That's another part of the modules and the finish line for you, is that you're going to not only unlock your book and write your book, but then to continue carry on and to actually publish the book and get the message out there. Nobody writes a book without the season of actually the publishing process. You want to get your message out there. So we're going to talk a little bit today about what the workshop will do for you, but also we want to discuss some of the problems that, Michelle and David and Jane and Trevor and Patricia, that people have faced when they've gone to write a book. There is challenges that sometimes that you have to overcome. But what we want to tell you and really just encourage you today is that writing a book is ministry. This is not just, you just had some idea someday. This is an opportunity where God began to speak to you. Maybe there was a prophetic word, maybe in your private time with the Lord, you begin to feel this desire and this passion begin to well up on the inside of you. Something begin to burn on the inside of you to get this message out. But you say to yourself, I don't even know how to do that. Guess what? That's what every writer, every author faces, that at some point when they're first getting started, especially in your first book, sometimes even in your second, third book, Lord, I know that you're calling me to write a book, but I don't know how. I don't know what the first step is. I don't know what the second step is. And so we've actually developed a step-by-step plan. But where we want to start by encouraging you is that writing a book is ministry. Now, vocationally, that may not be, you might not be a full-time minister, and that's okay. But we know that Ephesians chapter 4:11 tells us that the apostle, prophet, teacher, evangelist, pastor is there to equip the body, to equip the bride, to equip the church to do the work of the ministry so that you can do the work of the ministry. And all ministry comes out of relationship. So here's the encouragement. The encouragement is that as you write this book, you get to write this out of your relationship. You get to write this from the presence of the Lord. We did a workshop back in August. Brian Simmons and Patricia, we did a workshop. And one of the key things that came out of that workshop was write a book that causes people to encounter the Lord. What an amazing vision for your life, to write a book that will cause people to encounter the Lord. And so when you put on this vision to write, that writing a book is ministry, and that this ministry comes out of relationship, you begin to participate and co-labor with the Lord. You get to co-labor with God so that the message that he wants to communicate to others through you will actually bring an impartation. So the message is for messengers so that they will impart something to others. That's what your book's going to do. As you unlock your book and you write your book and you publish your book and you begin to get the message out there, your message is to help activate and impart something to people. You're going to take them out of something and take them into something. You're going to share guidance. You're going to share what God has done on the inside of you. And so we want to be, let's call ourselves the dream team. We want to be your dream team. We really want to help you and facilitate, because I guarantee everybody that's here today and everybody that's going to be helping you write your book, they've all been in those places where they didn't know what step to take. They didn't know
Yeah.
the next direction. And so we've
Yeah.
developed a step-by-step plan. Let's start with
Yeah.
that. Let me ask you, Patricia, when you wrote your first book, or did you have any time where you're like, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing?
No, I didn't. And I mean, I had exactly those feelings, but I want to share with our audience today just encouragement, because I never had any idea that I would be authoring books. Never. I mean, it wasn't on my radar. It wasn't in my life plan. But the Holy Spirit actually spoke to me, and I had an encounter with him, and he said, I want you to write a book. And I said, but I'm not an author. And he said, but I am. I authored the scripture. And if you will receive the author anointing from me, you will write the book that I'm asking you to write. So that was my first book. Now it's over 100 books later. And I didn't start writing until I was in my early 50s. That's when I wrote my first book. And so for those of you that are in the senior years of life, it's never too late. And also, I just want to say this, is that the Holy Spirit will give you the inspiration, but when you get training, and that's what this course offers you too, is training, not only step-by-step kind of a plan, but insights that are so helpful. And it will make you a better author. It'll help you avoid some of the pitfalls. And I've really enjoyed gleaning a lot myself from the just the professionalism of the course that's being offered. And so it'll totally help you. But also, a lot of times people don't realize that what they carry as a messenger for the Lord is significant. And you might think, well, I've just got something little, but you know, in the Bible, there are, what is inside of here? There's books. There's the books of the Bible, right? Some of these books are long and some of them are really short. Some of them are like one chapter long, right? But they're called a book. And sometimes just a short little book will make an impact in a person's life. I have a few of those actually that I've written that I still get people saying how much they mean to them, and what an impact that they have made on their lives. And yet it only takes them a few minutes to read it. I've got one on tongues that way. I've got some on decrees that way. And it's just been really making powerful impact. So I just want to encourage those of you that feel like, well, I've just got something little, but celebrate the small, because it'll grow and it'll be seed in people's heart for the gospel. And, you know, I've got people coming to me now that read a book 10, 15, 20 years ago that said that book changed my life, and it's still changing my life. And I've passed it on to other people. So you never know where that book is going to go. And so I just want to encourage you, you can do it. And if you have doubts right now, like I'm sure all of us have had from, different seasons of writing, the Lord will empower you, and this teaching will really help you. But love to hear from some of the other authors here, because they've all authored, and we're all here to help you. We don't want to just, this isn't about us. This is about you getting the message that's inside of you out for the glory of God.
Yeah. Yeah. Jane, let's talk a little bit. Let's pick on Jane for a minute. Jane, tell us a little bit about your book writing process and how the Lord has put messages on the inside of you, and you've been able to unlock and write those messages.
Yeah, I think this course is going to be so amazing because I remember um, really feeling impressed of the Lord. My first book was a book that I wrote back in the mid 90s called Dreams and Visions. And there really wasn't a lot of information out there at the time, but it was something that I was constantly experiencing dreams and visions and felt like I needed to take the things that the Lord was showing me and teaching me and really put it into something that was very practical, that could empower others to hear the voice of God. Our ministry, Christian International, is a prophetic training center. And so we, through the years, have trained, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands of people. And how valuable it is when somebody feels that they have this prophetic call to go to people that have been doing their prophetic call for a lot of years and to learn from those that have already gone before you. And so I think that this course really provides the same benefit to those that are coming into their book writing years. I remember my first stab at writing the book, though. First of all, it was very intimidating because I know, first of all, you have to kind of overcome intimidation, like, who am I to write this book? Who would listen to me? Who would read what I have to say? And so once you kind of get past that, then I wrote my first draft of the book and I turned it over to somebody in our church that was an editor. And I think that when I got it back, there was more red on the page than there was black on the page. And I got so discouraged. I thought, I must not be called to this, you know. And then I realized that this is really a process that you walk through. You don't have to be perfect at English. You don't have to be perfect at all your grammatical structures. And I've, in my years of helping other people, that's usually one of the things that they face, that they go, well, I'm not any good at writing, da, da, da. And I just think that sometimes we have to recognize that we're the writer and God provides editors, God provides other people that help to support us through that process. And so gaining confidence by doing, I think, is such a valuable life lesson, is that a lot of people say, well, I don't know how to write a book. Well, you've never written one before. So how would you know how to do it? My personal process usually flows out of something that God is speaking to me, something that I've encountered the Lord about, something that's impacted my life. Usually there's an unlocking of the voice of God before there's ever an unlocking of a book. So the voice of God becoming real to me, God impressing things on my spirit, and then taking what God has spoken to me and really diving into the word, and then really unlocking the word of God and understanding the fullness. I mean, God can speak a word to you, but then you've got to unlock it through the scriptures and get in there and study. And that usually helps to produce the message of the book. And then, of course, for me, I'm a storyteller. So always for me in my books, there's going to be the story element, my personal story, my personal life experiences, but then also the life experiences of others. So there's an unlocking of the story that to me is an important part of unlocking the message of the book. And then finally, kind of like you said, the impartation. What are people going to receive out of the labor of sitting down and actually writing this book? I think it's just so important to look at the hope that can come. As you said, the ability to encounter God, the ability to receive something from the Lord that gets activated in your life so that you can be mobilized to be more effective for the kingdom. So I feel like, even like Patricia said, even if you feel like it's just a small message, that small message can change somebody's world. And God is, I think, really brought us to a season of time right now where he's saying, you know, I truly want to put a key in that lock of that locked up message, your locked up life, and let what's in you come out, let it flow. So I want to encourage you to participate with this, because I honestly wish that I would have had something like this when I first started writing books. I've not written 100 books like Patricia. I'm currently writing my 6th book. I guess I'm just a beginner. But I feel like had I had this at the beginning, it would have taken the intimidation out of it. It would have taken the mystery out of it, and really would have given me the confidence to move into it with more joy than fear in the early days.
Yeah, that's so good. I really appreciate that. And I want to have David Sluka share a little bit. For those of you, if you don't know David, he's worked with way more authors than any of us have. So I'd love to just get some feedback. David, your thoughts?
Yeah, there's two things that Jane said that I think are great to point out, because they're two hindrances and the reason why people don't decide to write in the first place. The first thing is that I'm not a writer. And I've had so many people say, I'm not a writer. But the question is not, are you a writer? The question is, do you have a message? Because if you have a message and you have a heart to communicate that message, there are so many ways to get that message on paper. So if you're saying to yourself, I'm not a writer, that's the wrong question. The question is, do you have a message? And if you have a message that God's given to you, then we can help you to write that message. The second thing that I thought was very insightful that you said was the question of, well, who am I to write a book? And for those of you who are parents, when you got married, did you ever say, who are we to have children? And the answer is no, because children are the natural offspring of when a man and a woman get married, they want to express love to each other and raise something of their own kind. They multiply what God has given to them in the form of children. Well, it's the same way with the book. The issue is not whether or not there's a ton of books out there already, because no parent said, well, there's enough kids out there already, we should probably let other people do the work. The issue is, if God's given you a message, if he's put something in your heart, then he's offering you the opportunity to share it. So just be careful that you're asking the right questions of yourself. And those questions aren't coming from the enemy or self-doubt or other people who are skeptical. The right questions are, has God given me a message? And does he want me to share it? And typically the answer is yes to both of those.
Yeah, that's really good. And David, as you're talking, it really makes me think about the obedience factor too. There is a factor as you begin to write a book. If God's calling you to write a book, there's an obedience factor. But even when God begins to call you to do something, I mean, writing a book seems pretty overwhelming. We could compare writing a book maybe to a marathon. My wife has run a couple of marathons. I don't like running, so I don't want to run a marathon. But you know that the reality is that anybody that actually wants to run a marathon can run a marathon. But you're not going to go today, go sign up and register for the marathon that's this Saturday, when there's been no conditioning, no planning, no work, but you could get ready for a marathon. It might take 3 months, 4 months, depends where you're at, maybe even 6 months. But if you actually wanted to run a marathon and your legs work, there could be a plan put in place that even if you've never run a marathon before, maybe you weren't athletic, maybe you didn't even play sports, none of that, you could run a marathon. But it starts with you being able to first run around the block and then to condition yourself. And did you know that when you're conditioning yourself to run a marathon, you actually never run a full marathon? You don't actually go out and run 26.5 miles. Just saying that sounds strange. But anyway, you don't actually go run 26.5 miles. You're conditioning yourself. So there's a process that you can go through by following a plan. So if you wanted to run a marathon, you would hire a coach, and you would follow a plan. This is what you're going to do on day one. This is what you're going to do week one. You decide when your marathon is going to be. If your marathon's 4 months from now, if your marathon's 6 months, if it's 3 months, when you're going to do it, then you plan accordingly. Well, that's how we really structured the Unlocking Your Book workshop. And there's 3 parts to the Unlocking Your Book workshop. There's the live workshop where you can join live, and there's going to be 18, 20 different speakers. We'll go through the names here in just a little bit, but 18 to 20 coaches that have run a marathon that can help you run your marathon and give you some incredible inspiration and some incredible feedback. So first part of the Unlocking Your Book workshop is that live environment. And if you can't join live, then it's recorded. You own it forever. Once you get it, it's yours. You can have access to the live version, or you can have access to the replay. The second part of it is the actual workbook and the course. So the workbook goes together with the video course. Now, I'll pick on Patricia here in a minute because she went through a little bit. I'd like to get her feedback, what she thought about it. But that's the second part. That's where you actually begin to do the work. So first, you're getting the inspiration and the motivation and the encouragement, and you're getting some really key things that you need that are going to help you run this marathon and really birth this book. But then the second part is where you actually have to put in the work, where we call it the Writing Made Simple workbook. It's a workbook and a video course that you follow. You can do the whole thing in a day or two if you wanted to, depending on when you want to write and publish your book. Then the third part of it is the mentoring, because you need someones, you need a team, you need people that can continue to mentor and to coach and come alongside you. So you have the opportunity to do weekly sessions. And again, you can join live on those weekly sessions, or you can do the recorded. The replay, you simply just go into your dashboard and access everything. So we give you the inspiration that encourages you, hey, you can run this marathon, you can write this book. And then there's a very practical plan, a workbook and a course that you follow. We actually call it a guaranteed plan. If you follow the plan, you will write a book. If you follow this plan to run this marathon, you can run a marathon and cross that finish line. Follow the plan will work, and we guarantee that it will work. And then the third part is that mentoring, where myself and Brian Simmons, Patricia King, my wife Teresa, and a couple other mentors, we come alongside you. We have weekly sessions to answer questions and then also help you continue to move forward that destination, that desired outcome, to run that marathon, to birth that book. Patricia, you've gone through the workbook and the video course. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's just excellent because when the Holy Spirit spoke to me about writing a book, I did. And I was just like Jane Hammond, where the editor sent me back the manuscript and it was almost all read. And so I thought, is there anything left here that is printable? And so I didn't understand even about how edits worked or anything. I didn't understand about any of the process back in that day. So over the years, I've written all these books and I've had the blessing of have editors make them look good, but I never took any course. I never had any education on it until this last year with Unlocking Your Book. So I actually took the course myself. I wanted to know what the content was so that, you know, I would be well versed in what we're giving to our people. I was so blessed, and I went through it in a whole week. I was very aggressive with getting it finished, and I just loved it. And I learned so much. It gave me so much understanding. It enhanced my writing. So even if you've already written a book, but you haven't had actual training in it, it will give you education on writing that is really good. And it's so beautifully presented that honestly anyone would be able to understand it. It's so simply and yet profoundly presented. And so it's like, okay, I got that. Okay, I got that. And it's just step by step. They're just little segments at a time that you can do. You get hungry for the next one, hungry for the next one. And it's very, very well done. So just want to encourage you, you know, that anyone could take it, even if you've got teenagers or you know, I've got a friend who's 10 years old who is starting to write her first book. And I think it's that simple for the most part that someone, at least in their early teens, could probably easily understand and learn. It's that good. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Man, that's really encouragement. That's really encouraging. We really put a lot into it, a lot of prayer, a lot of planning, a lot of planning went into it, and we wanted to make it so the entire thing would help people that learn a little different. Some people, man, they just love that workbook. You know, they just want to put their head down, turn the page and go through the workbook. If that's your learning style, you can do it. Some of you, you just want to listen to the audio. Maybe you don't necessarily not the video, but you want to just listen to it while you're driving, while you're working in the background. You can do that. You have access to it. So you can just listen to it because that's how you learn. Some of you, you're really structured and you're going to block out, okay, I'm going to do 1 hour of video every day. Well, if you did an hour, every day, you'd be done with the whole thing in a week. But whatever your learning style, it's really there. And some of you really need and want that extra help with the mentoring and the ongoing coaching. So, you get 3 whole months for what you pay for this, whether you do, the one-time payment or the 6 payments. But here we are. We're what are we doing? We're pulling on you. We're trying to put a path in front of you. We went in front of you, pioneered a way, made a path, cleared the way for you, and we're pushing and we're pulling, and we're calling you to come out of your cave and to be the messenger that God has called you to be. There's still going to be challenges. There's still going to be a process you have to go through. There will be disciplines. There'll still be warfare. In fact, can we just encourage you as you give God your yes, there's going to be warfare, but we're right there with you. Just don't get wrapped up in the unnecessary warfare, because a lot of times the unnecessary warfare is the warfare that's there to distract you from the real battle, so that you can run this marathon, write that book, because there are people's lives that you're going to change and you're going to touch. So I want to go to Michelle Jackson. I would love you to just speak into this a little bit, Michelle.
Yes, I'm honored to be a part of the team that's hosting this. I have had the privilege of writing a book, doing like journaling and things like that, because books are tools, right? So every book has a message and a purpose. So my book was more encouraging people to journal, to put their thoughts before the Lord, and to create their own story, right? So that's what I did the first time, but I've been involved with book writing because both my parents were authors, right? So helping them and on their editing team. And so I think it's cool because everybody has a team. So let me dismantle that for anybody who's watching, right? When you go to Barnes and Noble and you're following your favorite author, maybe you don't buy them there, maybe you order them from Amazon, wherever. But when you go there and you see your favorite author, they had a lot of people help them get to this point. So now you have all of these personal coaches that are coming alongside of you to help you present your authentic message. So I think it's important, just as it's already been said, that this is a ministry and you can do any kind of tool, any kind of message, any kind of formatting, and not to be intimidated by the Jane Hammonds or the Patricia Kings of the world who give us the revelation that we need to walk out our Christian life. There can be other things that you can contribute that would help the people that you know. So, we all face intimidation, but I think the most important thing is for you to be yourself and to share your message, because no one can be you and no one can share what God's done in your life and how he's speaking to you. And so I think that is really key to getting your message out there. And then just even as Jane said, like making sure that you encounter the Lord in your process, because as you have confirmation about it and he takes you step by step. And that's really how I created the journal. When my mom passed away, I wanted a way, number one, to honor her, number two, to support our mobile clinics in South Africa that are in her honor. Shelley's clinic, it supports families that need medical coverage. They would never get medical care in the homelands there in the Eastern Cape. And so we wanted to find a way, number one, how we can honor my mother's memory. Number two, how we could support our clinics, right? And number three, how could we help people engage with the Lord? And so that's why I created a journal, and I was able to take things from her own personal writings and put them together. But as I prayed it through, the Lord showed me how to get that done. And we still are producing them, and they support our mobile clinic there that operates 7 days out of the week during COVID. They were asked by the local governments to continue. And then we opened soup kitchens to help children who were still going to school and facing adversity there, because the COVID pandemic really hit the Eastern Cape of South Africa really badly. So your book can be a tool for missions. Your book can be a tool to forward the call of God upon your life. So that's how I've used my tool that God gave me.
Awesome. That's awesome. Way to go. I was just
Yeah.
thinking, Michelle, as you were sharing how, like, I just love like the bigger vision, even when you mentioned about COVID. So during COVID, we couldn't necessarily meet in some locations, there was different restrictions. So a lot of times people felt trapped. They couldn't go out to a meeting or get the teachings that they wanted on site, but books were always available, right? You could always grab a book, and many people read a lot of books during COVID. And so even for things like that, of people that aren't able to get out, maybe shut in for whatever situation, books are such a tool on so many levels. And especially these days with the electronic versions of everything, is that you can write blogs and books and get them out. You can distribute them so much easier today than ever before. So it is so cool.
Yeah, so good. And I want to, if we could just take a couple of minutes, I want to give 4 things. Those of you that you're watching, you're listening, get your handy dandy writing utensil and take some notes here. I want to give you 4 really quick things that are going to help you actually, like, not just if you take the workshop or take the course later, but 4 key ways that your book can help others. And then we're gonna talk a little bit to Sherman, and then we're going to tell you how this whole thing works. Well, here's 4 key ways. So if you're writing this down, 4 key ways that your book can help others is, number 1 is sharing your faith and guidance. So your book can offer insight. It can give encouragement and guidance to Christians who are really looking to deepen their faith and understand something, or understand the word, or understand a revelation. So your book can provide a new perspective that is familiar to you, or that God has really given you insight, and it's going to help your reader gain a better understanding of the teachings of the gospel, and hopefully have some practical advice for living that in that union with the Lord. So one key way is sharing your faith and giving guidance. Number 2, and this one, I really love this one, is to strengthen others. Again, your book is ministry. So a key way that your book can help others is by strengthening them, sharing from your personal experience. Some of you might actually just be feeling encouraged as you're hearing everybody talk and share their own experience. So by sharing your personal experience and challenge and even reflections on your journey, you can inspire someone, you can encourage someone, you can pastor, and you can help, and you can lead someone else to be strengthened in their faith. And the book that you write, as it strengthens them, becomes a source of comfort, a source of hope. Imagine that, leaving that kind of legacy, that you wrote something that inspired others that were facing challenges in their own lives. Number 3 is, and this is actually fun. I think this isn't for everybody, but sometimes a key way to help others with your book is actually build a movement or a community. You're building a movement, you're building a community. It can help build a sense of family among believers who are looking to connect with others. And so as they're reading that, and they're discussing, and there's conversation, and there's connection, and there's fellowship, they can develop a deeper understanding and forge new relationships with others that are on that same spiritual journey. We might use the word like our tribe, but you can build a community and build a movement with this book. And then 4th, and I love this one, is to expand the gospel. Your book helps others when by expanding the gospel, sharing the good news, sharing Jesus. You become a Christian author, not just, I really hope I can do this, but you step into something, you step into you step over a threshold and you step into the ability of being a Christian author that promotes the message of salvation, that promotes the message of the good news of the gospel and encourage others to become followers of Christ. And my wife and I right now are co-writing a book. We're so, this is not even a plug, but just to encourage you, is that we really feel the Lord calling us to write a book called Come Follow Jesus. And it's really going to be a challenge because we're not writing to a Christian community. We're actually writing to an unchurched community. And the book and the message is for them to come and follow Jesus. So any one of these 4 ways or 4 keys, and there might be others, it's not exclusive to these, there might be other ones, but these are 4 key ways that you can write a book that can help others. I want to go to Sherman. I really want to hear from you, brother. Tell us how are you getting excited about this? You're going to be sharing with us next week at the workshop. How are you doing? Tell us what you're thinking.
Well, man, I think this is awesome. I'm so excited to be a part of what's happening. And I remembered, I was thinking back to 2010 when I wrote my first book, and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And I was going through this whole process of saying, hey, I felt like others, there was something inside of me that I was supposed to release that was going to impact those that are around me. But the part I struggled with the most was that specifically in the topic that I was writing about, which was the prophetic, I felt like there was books out there like Bishop Hammond. Who else needs to write anything? And so it's like, I was like, God, why do I need to write anything about the prophetic? And the Lord began to speak to me about the importance of my difference, that no matter how many books that are out there about a particular topic, because of my set of experiences and my life's journey, it's going to come out of me differently than it will come out of another. And so I want to encourage anyone that is thinking about writing, going on this journey of writing, might be facing that your difference matters. And the difference that you bring to the table is going to help a whole lot of people, because there are some people who are attracted to your voice. There's a whole group of individuals that God's released you and raised you up to be a voice to your generation, your community, those that are around you, and they'll be attracted to you like they will not be attracted to the next person. And so we need what's on the inside of you. You know, 2 Corinthians chapter 4 talks about how we have this treasure in earthen vessels. And I need you to know that there is value locked on the inside of you. And God wants that treasure to come out of you through the power of your writing. When you begin to write and you begin to release these things, that's a part of that process of the treasure coming out of you. And the treasure in you that God placed there is to impact so many people and for their lives to be transformed. And so we've got to get out of our heads. We've got to get out of our brains and staying in the places that would try to paralyze us from walking in what we need to walk in. You know, everything that we're designed to do in life is all based upon, 2 major things. I'm sure there's more, but first of all, grace, God's divine ability on the inside of you. And so when you're writing whatever it is, and even if you feel like, I don't have it, I love what Patricia said earlier. He's the author, right? And he can translate that grace to you. God's divine ability comes upon you through obedience. When you obey and say, okay, I'm going to step out here and I'm going to do what he told me to do, there's no command he gives you without the grace to complete it. And so allow his grace to move through your actions of faith and obedience. And man, as you begin to walk that out, things will begin to flow. It's all about starting. And I remember starting in 2010, and it was probably the worst book I ever wrote. I didn't have a team of people working with me or anything like that. But as time went on, each book that I wrote got better and better and better, but I had to start. If you never start, you'll never finish. So you have to just begin where you are and here's an opportunity now. I wish I had this class back then. I wish I had this group of mentors, because it would have helped me so much to even begin at another level. And so get started, allow that treasure to come out of you, and people are going to truly be impacted by it.
Yeah, if that's like an indication, those of you that are watching, so there's just 6 of us here today, but here's some of the people that are going to be your mentors starting next week. So the workshop is open now. You can sign and register. We're going live next week, February 6th through the 10th. And again, you can join us live, or you can have access to the replay. lifetime for a lifetime. But here's some of the folks you got. Ben and Jody Hughes are going to be with us. We've got Leif Hetland, Katie Souza, of course, Patricia Kings, Brian Simmons, Sherman, Jane, Daniel Kalanda. We've got Troy Brewer, Wesley and Stacy Campbell, Cheon, Michelle Jackson, who's here, Matt Sorger, Georgian Banoff, Barbara Yoder, David Sluka. I mean, you've got like the dream team times 10 of these people that are just so passionate about, spending some time with you next week and unzipping you and unpacking stuff and putting a whole lot of inspiration into you. And then we're not just going to, let you flounder and figure this out on your own. We're going to be there throughout the process. We want you to run this race and actually run this marathon. Now, I want to ask David, if you would, share with us real quickly about what are the 4 things that people actually need to write their book. And then we're going to talk about how all this works and what you should do next if you're going to join us.
Typically, there's 4 things that I see that can get in the way of someone writing a book if they're not present. But when they start, if they are present, they help a person to complete it. The first thing is to have a full heart. Sometimes a person needs time to mature that message, and there's different seasons of when a certain message is ready. The complexity with a full heart is to figure out what that message is, because sometimes there's more messages in that full heart. So the process of determining what message is for now and what message fits with what book is important, but we certainly will help a person to do that. So number 1, a full heart. Number 2, some level of organization, so that when you start to pour out of that full heart, you don't make a mess. So you don't want any messes. We want organized, focused, potent, clear messages so that people can hear the call and they can follow and respond. Thirdly, people have to do the work. There is work involved, so you do have to sit down and do the work. But fourthly, when you have the encouragement along the way and encouragement to help you finish, then you actually do the work, have some accountability, have coaching, help, pastoral, and some of the times when I work with these leaders need encouragers too. And so it's funny, I'll work with pastors that you all would know. I mean, many of these people that we're having on the show, I've had a chance to work with them, and I'll have a chat behind the scenes, and they'll say, "Hey, David, man, is this any good? I'm getting tired of this message. Is this really going to impact people?" And I end up preaching their message back to them, and I'll say, "Of course it is." So we all need encouragement. Even these leaders that you'll be hearing from need encouragement. We all need encouragement to continue the work that we know that God's given to us. So those 4 things: a full heart, organization, you have to do the work, and you need encouragement so that you finish. And I would like to say, to my knowledge, there's never been a group like this assembled, like to do this before, at least in my couple decades of publishing. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is a pretty incredible deal. I was shocked when I first saw, oh my goodness, all of us are gathering for this. What a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, that's a blessing. It's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of work, but it's also going to be a lot of fun. Well, let's just talk really quickly, and then I'm gonna turn it back over to Patricia as we start to wind down here just a little bit. But really, how does this work? How does the Unlocking Your Book workshop work? Now, if you're like, man, just show me, where do I go? How do I sign up? In the comments of this video down below in the comment section, or the above of the video in the headline, will be a website for you to be able to sign up and to register. So you still have plenty of time. We start next week. And even if you aren't again able to join us live, this is completely recorded. You'll have access to everything. It's yours for life. So here's how it works. First, you take the workshop, you join live or by replay. Number 2, start the workbook and the video course. You actually begin the process, you begin the work. Number 3, get the weekly mentoring. You're going to have questions, you might get some sticking points, you need help getting unstuck, get the mentoring weekly. Number 4, write the book. Write the book and write it with the step-by-step guidance, and you'll cross that finish line. And then lastly is get lifetime access to everything. So all of the video, all of the workshop, the workbook, everything is yours. So you can take it at your own pace and also your own schedule. We really put so much into this to take out the guesswork and then give you the step-by-step plan that's guaranteed to work. We want you to settle. We don't want you to worry about all of those things. We want you to just settle who you are and embrace this call to the messenger life and write that book or run that marathon.
Yeah. All the authors that are going to be here to help you and to give inspiration and encouragement, they have all not only written books, but they are ministers of the gospel who are behind you and your calling. And all of us on the panel today, even I know each one personally, it's our heart is to get behind you and your calling, to help you come into the fullness of what God has called you to do and be. And so as messengers of the Lord, I feel that we're living in a very strategic time right now. We are in a time when revival has already broken out. We might only be ankle deep in it so far, but it's already opened up. There's a harvest season that is already opened up, and it's just going to continue to escalate. So we have this opportunity to boast on our King, to let his word be made known, to let his name be known, to let the testimony of everything he's done in our life get out there. And not only for this hour, but books remain. In fact, a lot of the books I have in my library are those that were written by authors who have long gone to glory, but the books remain. And so we are committed to you. We're committed to pray for you, to release impartation, to give you the encouragement, the inspiration you need, and to give you a tool in your hand that you will have that will educate you, that will give you confidence. And so we're really excited to be able to serve you in this, and all of the different authors who are part of this mentorship team or this presenter team. I know them, almost all of them personally, and we're of that heart. We are of that heart for you. And so I'm excited because you know, if one can put 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight, and the anointing pool that is going to be available to you to release impartation to your heart is phenomenal. And so this is a great time to sign up, step into the new, step into your new season. Take the risk of moving forward and maybe putting your hand to do something that you've never done before, or something that you've dreamt about doing but just didn't have the confidence to step in. Now is your time. So definitely look in the comments section or in the title section and get the website that's available for you to sign up for this course. And I look forward to hearing about the book or the books that have come into the earth through you. All right, back to you, Jeremiah.
Amen. Thank you so much. Appreciate all of your time. Again, we would really love to have you join us for this journey, and we will stand shoulder to shoulder with you as you begin to write this book. Thank you so much, Patricia. Thank you, everybody, for being on here. It's going to be a glorious week, and I'm excited about next week, but I'll tell you what I'm really excited about is in a few months when we begin to see people's books, we begin to see their manuscripts. So really excited for everybody. Thanks, everybody. God bless. We'll see you soon.
God bless.